Imagine walking into a crowded room, a lively cafe, or even just your workplace, and instantly getting hit by a wave of intense emotions that aren't your own. One minute you are perfectly fine, and the next your chest tightens with anxiety, or a heavy shroud of sadness settles over you out of nowhere. For an unprotected empath, this isn't some rare mystical superpower. It is an exhausting daily reality. You don't just notice someone is upset. You literally absorb their anger, their grief, and their unspoken stress right into your own nervous system. Because you lack the emotional skin that protects average people, you walk through the world completely exposed. You end up functioning like a giant sponge, soaking up every drop of toxic energy, unspoken tension, and emotional residue left behind by others. This deep level of sensitivity does allow you to form incredibly authentic connections and offer profound comfort to the people you love. You can see right through the masks people wear, sensing exactly what they need before they even know how to ask for it. But without strict, aggressive boundaries, this beautiful gift quickly morphs into a perilous trap. You become a dumping ground for everyone else's emotional baggage. By the time you get home, you feel completely hollowed out, utterly drained, and trapped in a state of emotional turmoil that doesn't even belong to you. You are left trying to process and heal wounds that aren't yours to fix, completely losing touch with your own peace of mind. The brutal truth is that surviving this world as an empath isn't about turning off your compassion or hardening your heart. It requires a radical shift in how you operate, meaning you must learn how to fiercely and unapologetically protect your own energetic field. This intense sensitivity did not develop by accident, nor is it just a random personality trait you were born with. For the vast majority of empaths, this hyper-awareness was forged before the age of 5 as a literal survival mechanism. When you are a helpless child, your environment demanded that you become hyper-vigilant just to get by. If you grew up around volatile, emotionally distant, unpredictable, or highly stressed caregivers, you quickly realized that your emotional safety depended on your ability to read the room. To protect yourself from conflict, rejection, or emotional neglect, you had to become an expert at anticipating the changing moods of the adults around you. You needed to know exactly when a storm was brewing so you could change your behavior, keep the peace, and secure the love, approval, and safety every child desperately needs. To pull off this constant scanning, your young subconscious mind made a drastic energetic trade-off. You learned to pull your awareness and vital energy completely away from your grounding centers, your root and solar plexus chakras, which are responsible for your stability, personal power, and sense of safety in your own skin. Instead, you pushed all that energy upward into your heart and upper chakras, effectively blowing open your emotional centers. By doing this, you successfully transformed yourself into a highly sophisticated human antenna, capable of picking up on the slightest microshifts in a caregiver's body language, tone, or energy. While this childhood defense mechanism successfully kept you safe back then, it also left you permanently ungrounded as an adult. You became so perfectly trained to live outside of yourself, monitoring everyone else's emotional landscape, that you never learned how to anchor yourself firmly within your own body. Living as an unprotected empath means you're constantly trapped in a state of chronic identity confusion. Because your energetic borders are completely porous, you frequently mistake other people's chaotic internal worlds for your own personal identity. You might start your day feeling light, focused, and genuinely happy, only to have that entire state instantly shattered the moment you step into a shared space. You sit down next to a stressed coworker or a frustrated partner, and within seconds, your mood plummets off a cliff without any logical explanation. Suddenly, you are gripped by a wave of heavy anxiety, irritability, or deep sadness. And because it feels so real and so close, your mind immediately begins to rationalize it. You start telling yourself that you are the one who is anxious, that you are the one who is failing, or that you are just naturally moody. In reality, you aren't actually depressed or angry at all. You are simply drowning in the unexpressed emotional pollution of the person sitting next to you. This constant energetic bleeding is the exact reason why you struggle to answer the simplest question: how do I actually feel right now? When you are constantly bombarded by the loud, heavy, emotional noise of everyone around you, your own quiet inner voice gets completely drowned out. You become so tangled up in the psychological currents of your environment that the line between where you end and where someone else begins becomes completely blurred. You pick up on the tiniest micro cues: a subtle shift in someone's tone, a heavy sigh, a micro expression across a room, and your nervous system immediately goes into overdrive, absorbing that tension and wearing it like a heavy coat. This isn't just exhausting, it is dangerous for your mental health. It keeps you on a perpetual emotional roller coaster, reacting to external triggers that have absolutely nothing to do with your life, your choices, or your true emotional state. To finally halt this overwhelming cycle and reclaim your sanity, you must make a conscious commitment to building unbreakable energetic boundaries. This doesn't mean you become cold or unfeeling. It means you put a pane of glass between your soul and the chaos of the world. The shift begins with a radical, everyday habit of tuning out the room and tuning directly back into your own physical body. The very second you feel a sudden, unexplainable shift in your mood or energy, you must pause, take a breath, and ask yourself this direct question: is this feeling actually mine, or am I just feeling someone else? By asking this, you actively interrupt the automatic absorption process. You force your brain to separate your true identity from the emotional static around you, allowing you to drop the heavy baggage that belongs to others and step back into your own calm, grounded center before you react to a world that isn't yours to carry. The profound sensitivity you carry today is not a random evolutionary glitch. It is deeply intertwined with unresolved childhood wounds. When you look closely at the root of your empathic nature, you will almost always find the painful footprints of early emotional neglect, instability, or a terrifying fear of abandonment. As a child, your survival depended entirely on the adults around you, but those adults were wrapped up in their own chaos, emotional absence, or unpredictable tempers. When your core needs for safety, visibility, and unconditional love went unmet, your young mind realized it couldn't rely on a stable environment. To protect yourself from the agony of being rejected, ignored, or abandoned, your nervous system went into a state of permanent hypervigilance. You quickly learned that the only way to stay safe was to become an expert at reading the emotional weather of your household, monitoring every adult's mood like a soldier walking through a minefield. This constant state of high alert forced you to develop a chronic, deeply ingrained habit of toxic people-pleasing. You realized that if you could keep everyone else happy, calm, and comfortable, you wouldn't have to face their anger or emotional withdrawal. To achieve this, you became a master shapeshifter, constantly altering your behavior, silencing your own voice, and suppressing your own needs just to keep the peace and win scraps of validation. You learned to suppress your own anger, your own sadness, and your own desires, sacrificing your authentic self on the altar of everyone else's comfort. If a caregiver was angry, you became the perfect, quiet child. If they were sad, you became their emotional caretaker. You traded your true identity for a protective mask, believing that you were only safe and valuable when you were useful, accommodating, and completely frictionless to the people around you. The tragedy of this dynamic is that what started as a necessary shield to survive your childhood has evolved into a heavy cage, causing your adult anxiety and depression. Your nervous system is still running that exact same frantic 5-year-old survival script in your adult life. Every time you overextend yourself, every time you say yes when you desperately want to say no, and every time you swallow your truth to avoid a minor conflict, you are actively abandoning yourself to prevent others from abandoning you. This constant betrayal of your own soul leaves you deeply depressed, because depression is often the heavy exhaustion that sets in when you spend years forcing yourself to be someone you aren't. Your chronic anxiety is simply your body's alarm system, screaming that it is tired of scanning the horizon for threats that no longer exist. Breaking free from this exhausting cycle requires you to look this painful truth directly in the eyes. The moment you finally acknowledge that your overwhelming empathy and people-pleasing are not your authentic identity, but rather old, outdated survival tactics, is the exact moment you reclaim your personal power. You are no longer that helpless child who needs to manipulate their own behavior to secure safety and love. You are an adult with the power to handle conflict, the power to endure someone else's temporary disapproval, and the power to walk away from environments that demand your self-sacrifice. Reclaiming your power means looking at that old survival shield, thanking it for keeping you alive when you were vulnerable, and choosing to finally lay it down so you can live your life grounded in your own truth. This history of childhood hypervigilance brings you directly to the edge of the most dangerous, destructive trap an unprotected empath can ever fall into: the magnetic, almost inescapable pull toward narcissists. This is not a random coincidence, nor is it just a streak of bad luck in your dating or professional life. It is a brutal, deeply predictable psychological match. As an empath who was trained early on to survive through self-sacrifice, your entire internal wiring is set to overgive, over-nurture, and constantly scan for ways to fix other people's pain. You have been conditioned to believe that your personal value is directly tied to how much emotional labor you can perform for someone else. Enter the narcissist, who sits on the exact opposite end of the spectrum. Narcissists are absolute masters of toxic self-prioritization, entitlement, and emotional manipulation. They don't walk through the world looking to connect. They walk through the world looking for a source of endless emotional fuel to feed their fragile egos. When an unprotected empath and a narcissist cross paths, the attraction is instantaneous and incredibly intense, but it is entirely predatory. You do not meet by chance. You attract them like a lighthouse attracts ships in a storm, because your complete lack of boundaries perfectly complements their absolute lack of empathy. Where you have an endless desire to heal and fix, they have an endless pit of emotional demands and criticism. The narcissist instantly senses your porous borders and your deep-seated need for external validation, realizing very quickly that you will tolerate their bad behavior, excuse their cruelty, and empty your own emotional bank account just to keep the peace. You become the perfect mirror, reflecting back the inflated, flawless image they want the world to see, while completely erasing your own identity in the process. It is a devastating dance where your natural instinct to love and understand becomes the exact weapon they use to manipulate, drain, and control you until you are left completely hollowed out. If you currently find yourself trapped in this exhausting, soul-crushing cycle, you must radically shift how you view the situation. Instead of seeing yourself as a helpless victim doomed to repeat this pattern forever, you need to recognize that this relationship is actually a harsh, agonizing, but entirely necessary masterclass in personal power. Narcissists are the ultimate uncompromising test of your boundaries. They are the universe's way of showing you exactly where your energetic leaks are. By forcing you to witness their unwavering, unapologetic focus on their own desires, needs, and comfort, they are inadvertently providing you with a distorted blueprint of what you are completely lacking. They are showing you what it looks like to put oneself first, To break free from this cycle, you are forced to learn the hard way how to match that energy by fiercely prioritizing your own mental health, your own peace, and your own well-being. The answer to defeating this toxic magnetism is not to suppress your empathy, turn into a cold person, or vow to never love deeply again. Your ability to care is a beautiful trait, but right now, it is completely unarmed. Your empathy needs to be armed with a fiercely high sense of self-worth and an unshakable boundary system. You have the absolute power to break this mirror and end the game entirely, but it requires a radical shift in your daily behavior. You must start practicing the art of saying no as a complete sentence, entirely cutting out the habit of offering long-winded explanations, justifications, or apologies for protecting your peace. When you explain your boundaries, you give a manipulator the exact ammunition they need to debate you, guilt-trip you, and break your resolve. You have to finally accept the painful truth that it is not your job, your purpose, or your responsibility to fix, heal, or save broken people who actively choose to stay broken. Their emotional dysfunction is not a puzzle for you to solve. It is a boundary for you to respect. The moment you start standing firmly in your own worth, refusing to allow anyone to consume your energy without your explicit permission, the narcissist will naturally lose interest and disappear. They don't want an empath with a spine, they want a target. By building an unshakable wall of self-respect, you permanently change your energetic frequency, ensuring that the predators of the world no longer see you as a source of fuel, but as an absolute force to be reckoned with. To permanently plug the leaks in your energy field and stop the constant emotional bleeding, you have to stop looking at your adult symptoms and start looking at the root cause. The truth is, your porous boundaries and compulsive need to take care of everyone else are being driven by a wounded inner child who still feels completely unseen, unprotected, and unworthy of love. Deep down inside your subconscious mind, that little version of you is still running the show, desperately trying to solve an old childhood problem with adult relationships. Take a quiet moment to actually visualize that younger version of you, the child who learned that they were only valuable when they were quiet, helpful, or fixing someone else's problems. That child is still exhausted, still terrified of conflict, and still frantically overgiving and shape-shifting in hopes that someone will finally look at them and say, "I see you, you are safe, and you are enough just as you are." As long as you leave that child abandoned in your past, you will continue to seek external validation from a world that will gladly drain you dry. Every time you enter a relationship, hoping someone will finally save you, fill your empty spaces, or validate your worth, you are handing a stranger the keys to your emotional survival. It is time to step up and realize that the rescue mission you've been waiting for is your own responsibility. You have to stop begging unavailable partners, toxic friends, or demanding bosses to give you the approval they are incapable of providing. You must step into the role of the ultimate protector and start providing that exact, nurturing, fierce loyalty and unconditional love to yourself. Reparenting means showing up for that little version of you every single day, looking them in the eyes when you feel overwhelmed, and reminding them that they no longer have to perform, fix, or sacrifice their peace just to earn the right to exist. A profoundly powerful way to accelerate this healing and anchor your unstable energy is by consciously tapping into universal archetypes, specifically the energies of the Divine Mother and the Divine Father. These aren't rigid religious figures. They are cosmic blueprints of perfect, unshakable emotional support that you can internalize to fill the old, painful voids left by your human caregivers. When you feel lonely, empty, or tempted to bleed your energy for someone else's comfort, Close your eyes and call upon the archetype of the Divine Mother. Visualize her as a source of infinite, unconditional compassion, warmth, and absolute acceptance. A safe harbor where you don't have to do a single thing to be loved. Let that soothing energy wrap around your nervous system, teaching your inner child that it is completely safe to relax, let go of the hypervigilance, and just breathe. At the same time, you must balance that softness by internalizing the archetype of the Divine Father, who represents absolute stability, fierce protection, structures, and unbending boundaries. Visualize this energy as a solid, towering shield standing guard over your life, a presence that gives you the courage to say a firm no without a hint of guilt. The Divine Father energy teaches your inner child that you are no longer defenseless or exposed to the whims of volatile people. By blending these two powerful internal forces, the infinite comfort of the Divine Mother and the unshakable boundary of the Divine Father, you create a fortress within your own soul. You effectively rewrite your internal programming, filling those old childhood empty spaces with your own sovereign power, so that you never have to abandon yourself for a crumb of validation ever again. To survive and actually thrive as a sensitive person, you have to completely stop treating your energy like an afterthought and start treating it exactly like physical hygiene. You wouldn't dream of going weeks without taking a shower, brushing your teeth, or washing the dirt off your skin. Yet you walk out into a chaotic, heavy world every single day with your energetic borders completely wide open, wondering why you feel so toxic, heavy, and exhausted by noon. You cannot navigate a world filled with stressed coworkers, angry drivers, and emotionally demanding people without a strict, non-negotiable daily routine to anchor yourself. Just like dirt sticks to your body, other people's emotional baggage sticks to your energy field. If you don't actively clean it off, that absorbed stress accumulates day after day, eventually manifesting as chronic anxiety, physical exhaustion, and burnout. Energetic hygiene isn't a luxury or a weekend hobby. It is a vital survival skill that determines whether your empathy will be a beautiful gift or a miserable curse. The very foundation of this daily hygiene is grounding, which is the literal process of discharging the chaotic energy you've absorbed and plugging yourself back into a stable power source. When you live completely in your head and heart, constantly scanning the room for danger, you become ungrounded, floating like a balloon in a storm. To fix this, you must physically reconnect with the earth. Take off your shoes and walk completely barefoot on the grass, the soil, or the sand. Feel the texture beneath your feet and consciously imagine all the frantic, buzzing tension draining out of your nervous system and sinking deep into the ground. Pair this with intentional mindful breathing. When you are overwhelmed, your breath becomes shallow, keeping your body trapped in a fight or flight response. By taking slow, deep breaths down into your belly, you signal to your brain that you are completely safe in this present moment. This simple physical anchoring pulls your awareness out of everyone else's drama and drops it firmly back into your own sovereign body. Before you even step out of your house or jump onto a video call, you must proactively build a mental armor using the power of visualization. Do not wait until you are already feeling overwhelmed to protect yourself. Do it before the day even begins. Close your eyes for just 1 minute and vividly imagine a glowing, impenetrable shield of light completely wrapping around your entire body, stretching from a few feet above your head to deep beneath your feet. This is not a wall that cuts you off from love, but a highly sophisticated filter. Visualize this shield as a solid pane of glass that allows pure love, authentic connection, and joy to pass through easily, but completely blocks out, deflects, and bounces back the toxic anger, manipulation, and unexpressed anxiety of the people around you. When you walk into a difficult meeting or sit next to a draining person, mentally check in on your shield. See their heavy words and bad moods hitting your barrier and sliding harmlessly to the floor, completely keeping your internal world safe and untouched. Finally, just as you wash your face at the end of a long day, you must establish a cleansing ritual to shake off the stagnant energy you inevitably picked up. When you get home, you need to consciously transition out of the world and back into your own peace. This can be as simple as taking a hot shower and visualizing the water washing away not just physical dirt, but every single conversation, heavy glance, and stressful vibe you absorbed during the day. You can use quick meditations to cut the invisible emotional cords connecting you to demanding people, or use grounding crystals to help absorb the residual static in your field. Remember, your incredible sensitivity was never meant to be a weakness that destroys your peace or makes you a victim to your environment. It was designed to be a highly accurate, beautiful tool for deep connection and understanding. But a tool is only useful if it is properly maintained. You must aggressively protect your energy first, making your own well-being your absolute highest priority, so that you can finally stop surviving your empathy and start truly enjoying the extraordinary gift that you carry. Ultimately, mastering your empathic nature comes down to a fundamental choice. Will you continue to let your energy be a public playground, or will you claim it as a private sanctuary? True freedom begins the moment you realize that your worth is not measured by how much pain you can absorb or how many broken people you try to fix. By recognizing the childhood roots of your hypervigilance, cutting the energetic cords of toxic relationships, and executing a strict daily routine of energetic hygiene, you step out of survival mode and into your true power. Your sensitivity is not a flaw that requires you to shrink or hide from the world. It is an extraordinary gift of deep intuition and authentic connection. But to give the world your best, you must stop giving away your all. Guard your peace fiercely, anchor yourself deeply in your own skin, and let your boundaries be the unshakable foundation that allows your light to shine without burning yourself out.